What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I did actually want to discuss what I think is probably the biggest miss of the year 2 update. Now this is going to come down to like the most requested thing everybody has been asking for. And to be real, I actually really thought this was going to come in year 2, but it turns out it didn't. And I also want to point out the fact that there is probably a lot of things they did end up missing with the big year 2 update. But I do feel like personally this was the #1 requested thing I basically saw everywhere, which I'm sure everybody probably already guessed it at this point, and that is going to be PvP. Now, we all do know we actually got the Grand Race, like, no collision thing added with some new routes and all that, but the thing is, most of the players, including myself, guys, I'm also going to be real here for a quick second. I have not actually played Grand Races in months. Now, I did actually do a few of them for the video for footage and all that, but besides that, I really haven't played Grand Races in a long time. The reason for that is it's not that I don't like it, it's the fact that I'm honestly pretty dang bored of it. I do understand it was going to be like the big thing they did advertise in the game, that you have like 28 players, you all go against each other, you change classes. It's pretty dope, I admit. But also, it is the only form of PvP the game has after a single year. Now, we all do know we're going into year 2 now, and everybody's like, yo, was kind of hoping we were actually going to get some PvP changes in year 2, but we actually didn't. This is also why I really do think it was easily the biggest miss here. Like, yeah, we all do know other things needed updating and other changes and stuff like that, which definitely is probably going to be obvious. But I would say having more PvP playlists and other designs in there would have been so dang good. And that's the thing though, I have been noticing a lot more people mentioning this stuff in recent videos. Like, don't get me wrong guys, I do understand people like the Grand Races, but again though, it is going to get boring eventually with it being the only thing in there. Like, there isn't going to be any more variety with PvP stuff. Like, there's nothing else to do. That's why I really thought for like year 2, I'm like, you know, next year probably going to go into like the big update, which is going to be now. I really did actually think they were going to add a bunch of PvP stuff into the year 2 update. But it turns out though, when I did actually see the post saying, okay, so we're adding a few Grand Race routes, I was like, bro, what? That's legit the only thing you're actually adding after a year for PvP, man. Like, go back and look at all the comments. Go look what everybody has been saying. Look at the videos I've made. Look at the videos other content creators have made as well. Like, everybody wants more PvP events. In a racing game, it's so dang important. And the reason why I also wanted to touch on this, though, was because of Need for Speed Unbound. That game already had a lot of PvP, and I'm going to say something right now, which I truly do believe is pretty realistic. Unbound, I do understand the game gets hate, but currently, right now, well, it easily has one of the best multiplayer PvP designs that is out there for a current racing game. Legit, it's going to be true whether people want to believe that. Like, I do understand the game has its issues, man, but like the entire PvP design is so dang fun on there. You could go in free roam and do all kinds of things like the new lockup that came out and stuff like that. You can do the drag events, the drift things, the link ups, like you have the playlist. There's a lot of things multiplayer wise to do on there. If we actually look at Motorfest though, again, it's just Grand Races. Now people might be like, and well, how do you actually fix this? That's the thing though, people have been mentioning this in recent comments though. All of the playlists in the game, guys, just throw them in there. People can actually play through them and go through like a playlist of the races. Like, for example, the off-road one or something. Have that as like a playlist thing. You pick that. You have to use only off-road vehicles. You go against like maybe 10 or 12 players or something like that, and then boom, that is going to be the playlist. You can make maybe bonus money from them or something. Even Need for Speed Unbound had playlists that were giving you bonus money if you play it. Why not have something like that in Motorfest now? There is obviously, what, like 20 playlists in the game right now, so maybe have, let's say, 10 of them or something in PvP, maybe 1 or 2 of them a week is going to have a money and XP bonus on them. Like, bro, that'd be so dope. Now, I have mentioned in other videos, though, there are so many things they can do with PvP, man. Now, I do understand people are probably tired of hearing it, but you know what? I figure the more we talk about this and say it, maybe they might actually end up doing it. We seriously need class-based PvP in Motorfest. I honestly can't believe it's not a thing yet. In fact, that was probably the #1 thing I was expecting in year 2, but we didn't get it, and it was so dang surprising how we didn't. And that's the thing, like, I do understand some things are probably going to be a priority and stuff like that. Like, I do understand they were probably working on the big map of Maui to add that into the game. They're probably working on some fixes and different things like the custom mode and all that, but they really do need to do something with the PvP legit in the next 4 to 5 months. We all do know Season 6 is coming up, so maybe we might see that in there, which I think is in March. which is actually going to be months away, so maybe we might see that. But then again, we're going to go past an entire year heading into year 2 here from year 1, and we still are not seeing anything change with PvP but a couple of new routes. As other content creators have mentioned, man, like it is going to be dope having new routes in there, and also like the new no collision thing is pretty dope. But again though, it's only going to be fun for so long having legit one type of game mode. Like I would actually jump on and do grand race and stuff, but guys, I have to admit, like I said earlier, like I'd rather get on Unbound and do playlists and multiplayer on there. It's just way more fun. There's way more things to do. There's going to be a lot more ways to make money, unlock cars, and do different things. And I feel like only having grand races with no special bonuses and nothing active on it really does ruin the experience for so many. Like for example on that, we all do know everybody's trying to grind out part sets and trying to get better part sets for their vehicles. The only reason to get part sets, at least for right now, is for summits. And we all do know summits in themselves have a lot of problems, so I would say players are like, yo, why am I actually going to grind out part sets like I can't use them in PvP? What's the point? Guys, why not have other game modes in PvP where you can use part sets? I know I've talked about this, but seriously, they really do need to add this in because it would make Motorfest so much better. And I feel like a lot more players would actually jump on weekly to do different things in PvP modes if they actually were able to use classes they do love. I do know I was talking to somebody, he's like, man, like, I really wanted to be able to use only Street Tier 2 vehicles. My favorite cars are in there. And that's the thing, though, like, if you actually love, let's say, Street Tier 2, maybe even hypercars only, like, maybe you like the cars in those specific classes. If we're actually going to have grand races active in its motocross, monster truck, and something else, then how are you actually going to enjoy it? Why not have it separated? That way players can use their own classes, because guess what? If we can actually use our own classes, I would probably be doing most likely Rally Raid and Rallycross, probably 95% of the time because I love using those cars a lot. And if we actually had just races on those two categories, man, I would legit be spending hours and hours finding out builds and being able to play it. It would be so dang fun. And I feel like players are like, yo, now I can actually use my favorite Street Tier 2 car for hours on end. Like, guys, think about that. It would really open up the multiplayer so much. Now, I would say the big concern with me, though, is everybody was asking for this legit like 2 months after the game came out. And now if we actually fast forward around 9 or so months, we still do not have actual PvP events. What's really confusing to me, though, is the Crew 2 actually had class-based events, man. So I do not understand why Motorfest doesn't have it. And the big thing, though, is I was actually thinking about this a lot because of the new Unbound update. They actually added 14 new playlists in there with around 60 new routes, bro. Like, they're adding even more races into the game that was already a lot to begin with, and now we're going to have even more of them. And I really do feel like they could easily solve this in Motorfest by just adding the playlist into multiplayer. That way players can go through those, use hypercars, use rally raid, whatever they would like, go through the actual races themselves with a less player count like 8 to 10 or, you know, maybe even 12 players as I mentioned before, and then have a great time in the playlist. I feel like so many players would do it. And then add something like an actual bonus on top of like a playlist like Unbound had it. And I really feel like, guys, that would help multiplayer so much in Motorfest. But again, the big thing though is we're going to be around 9 months past the year 1 of the actual release of this game, and we have not had a single change to the actual multiplayer yet. So I would probably say that's going to be slightly concerning a bit. But I am curious to know what y'all think about this in the comments below. Do you also agree for the big year 2 update, this was probably the biggest miss of the entire thing? Which, don't get me wrong, I do know there's definitely going to be more stuff they probably could have done or should have done, but I do feel like not adding more PvP modes was such a big loss for year 2. Again, guys, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below.